Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be talking to you today. I'm jumping on before this episode, which you're going to love, and it's about getting our sexy on and our power back in our bodies and all of that. I'm jumping on first because I want to tell you about the retreat that's happening in Ojai, California. I'm doing this with another friend, a friend of mine who's an artist, and we're doing a retreat for bringing women's juju back in and getting us all turned on and creative and ready to go out in the world and sexy up the world, but also bring our passion to our projects, to our dreams, whether they're families or whether they're worldwide impact or just simply something you're doing in your town. Let's give it all our power and give it all our love. So if you have a dream for your life, a desire you want to create, something you have to do, a contribution you might make, something that feels like your life is going to be just not quite complete if you don't do it, it's now. Now is the time. And we have this amazing retreat to support you in doing that. It will lift you, it will guide you, it will give you back what you need to have the strength, the courage, the confidence, the power, the grace, and the beauty to live your dream, be your dream, and make your contribution in the world. We would love you to come. There's a website called emergingfeminine.com that you can go to, or you can find me on holyfuckpodcast.com. We invite you now to check this out. Encountering the Empress Within, an intimate awakening. October 25th through 27th in Ojai, California. We would love to have you there. We would love you to be bold enough to take this opportunity and commit to yourself and your dream and jump in with 2 feet. That's www.emergingfeminine.com or reach me, Katherine, at the Holy Fuck Podcast. Thank you so much, and we have a great show for you today. Take good care. Spread the love.
Welcome to Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. 2 gals on the prowl for enlightenment, sex, and all things holy. Holy Fuck. Each week, beauty alchemist and transformational coach and speaker, Katherine McClelland, and spiritual healer and life coach, Krista Kim, discuss navigating spiritual consciousness in a real human body. Stumbling through dating, relationships, and everyday life, all while maintaining a fucking sense of humor.
When I get that feeling, I want sexual healing. Sexual. 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 Can we just talk?
Oh,
talk
baby.
What's going on?
I sure do. Talk about whatever it is.
We can talk. And whose voice is that on this podcast today?
Oh, we had so much fun a couple of weeks ago chatting with Andrea Levoff from Dope Ass Mom that we just had to get her back in here
to see her dope ass self again.
Because, last time we talked about parenting and her business and her journey. Stepping up in the world as a comedian, and
we want some sexy time.
It's the Holy Fuck Podcast, so we need sex time.
That's what I said at the end of the last podcast. Where are all the fucks?
So yay, you're back. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you
hanging
guys.
with us again.
Of course.
So what's been going on?
Well, lots of things, but I'm so excited. I felt like this was the next natural progression, right? We talk about awakening and what's happening, and
now we get to talk about your body awakening.
Awakening.
What happened is you started to reclaim yourself. So where were you before you had kids, then kids, and then where were you awakening? Well, yeah, and the awakening process is you started to step into yourself. What happened with your sensuality and wherever you want to take
died.
this, girl?
But it was very much alive. I mean, it was very much alive before.
Before what?
Before children. I always felt sexy. I remember I read this book, and, I'm from Texas, which isn't technically the South, but there is this way that I feel like Southern women have where, like, we're sort of taught to flirt. And I sort of I was a flirt. I'm still a flirt, but I flirted.
I think I got that too.
Flirting. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to be from the South, but it's like,
I am from the South.
Yeah. It's like this flirty kind of flirting with the world,
because we have to be good arm candy in the South.
Right.
That's how I was brought up more.
Yeah. But even so, like, I think there's this way that you can sort of go through the world and flirt in a way that's not, disempowering. It's just sort of like, yes, you're getting what you want, but it's also like a sort of, it's an art.
Yeah,
and
it's It's not a direct manipulation. Is what
Not
you're
a
saying.
direct manipulation.
It's actually just your way of sort of making love to the world in some ways.
Yeah.
Right?
I always get, people make fun of me because I'm like, oh, the valet, if a valet guy valet says, compliments me or, I say thank you. I like it. I don't mind it. I don't mind I don't take it as he, doesn't respect me or I take it as a way of like, oh, he's appreciating something that he sees.
And damn, I work hard to look like
I don't mind
that.
it. As soon as I stop getting flirted with, like that, keep it coming. I don't mind it. So yeah. Sweet. But then after children, I think, and I don't think that I changed physically. That's the interesting thing. It's inside. It shut down.
How so?
I think, the responsibility of having children and the day-to-day, it can kill it. It can sort of at least numb it down. Dumb it down. Here we go again.
Number.
Number and number.
We're alluding to
this is where we ended the last podcast, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so.
So I think it just sort of, and it certainly doesn't help with your time, right? Like it's, I didn't have as much time for myself. I didn't have time to
feel sexy and
to be sexy and to put on lingerie and to feel, buy myself flowers and to take a bath and
lingerie. Hell, not enough time to put on the lotion.
Right, exactly.
And brush the teeth.
How about a shower today?
Yeah, it's no wonder women tend to lose that kind of. And then I think probably some people don't ever get it back or don't ever try or don't even know that you can. Right. Like,
so when do you feel like you started reclaiming that part of yourself?
Well, it's interesting because I was naturally drawn to S Factor, which you guys are familiar with.
Yeah, just say a few words about your experience of it.
Like I think if I went there because I wanted to work out and I thought pole dancing sounded fun.
Okay, so tell our audience what it is.
So it's pole dancing, but it's more for you. So
not for dollars.
Not for dollars. But in a group of
which
women.
Which you could do, I guess, later.
Which I totally would do. I think that sounds so fun. But it's a supportive group of women. It's a dark room. There's no mirrors. It's not for show. It's really just kind of moving meditation.
To like
tap into they call it your EC, your erotic creature.
Nice.
So that was sort of my first experience of, even before I went on the spiritual journey, of sort of feeling the inside, like taking the time to feel what it felt like to be inside and to not sort of worry about someone complimenting me or what they thought of me, and just sort of, I don't know, it was my first like internal.
Weren't there different names for the creatures or the dance archetypes?
Yeah. People, I don't know if they had names, but like some people, like mine, like loves layers. So I like loved to layer up. Put on a sweater, a hoodie, hide my face, and then like slowly kind of strip them away.
Oh, nice.
So it was like different things. Some people's were really loud and like loved to be seen and loved like look at me kind of. And mine was, more timid, but then, like.
Some are more dominant.
Like dominatrix. Is that the word?
Yeah. I was going to say that, or dominating.
Yeah.
Or like shy and coy.
Yeah.
My bestie did a lot of
S Factor. Right. Yeah, she had one in her house that we played with for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
She actually, that was part of her second year project at school too.
Yes.
We all went to a club in Hollywood.
Oh my gosh, did you know I still have those on my phone? So she shared with me those
photos.
Those photos, and they're in my iCloud. And I see they're so funny.
And this is what's great, is that this was part of her journey as she was a mom and PTA president and all of that type of thing, and getting up and for her project and doing this
pole
dancing in front of everybody. It was part of her like coming back and reclaiming herself as a woman and taking like the quote unquote tackiness apart, away from like being in the stigma of being in a strip club and men's sticking dollars in. Now,
sticking dollars.
We did have money at her project performance, and we had fun throwing the money on the stage, and she had fun rolling around in the money, and that was, just for the hoot and holler of it. But it wasn't about sexualizing.
Exactly. I think Sheila's whole thing was, if you take the guy out of it and you take the transaction, Sheila Kelly, that it's a beautiful way that a woman's body was meant to move. You know, they call it the S curve. Like we're sort of taught to like walk through the planet like a robot, you know, kind of like a man would. And we're not, you know, we're like feminine, fluid, curvy, like all of that. So that's kind of
juicy.
Juicy. That was my first experience. And I was in my 20s. I was 22, 23.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow.
That must have been great.
It was great. I mean, it was like, wow. So anytime I would go dancing after that with my girlfriends, they'd be like, oh my God, you're like a man magnet. Like, what the heck? Every time you go out and do these moves, like, because they would just naturally come out. And the way I moved was sexier.
Right.
And I gave myself permission to sort of move in that kind of flow and that, like, kind of round, curvy movement. And people respond to that. It's not because you look different. It's because you're putting on a different, I think, vibe. You're putting off that, like, I'm comfortable in my body.
It doesn't have to do with clothes or hair, anything. It's like how you're carrying yourself.
Well, let's just say it probably doesn't hurt to have a beautiful pair of body that you are carrying around in the world. But absolutely your point is how you are in your body is what's so attractive and what starts drawing men towards you. And even just other women sometimes just really are attracted to, like, how are you moving? And I want to feel the way you look like you feel when you're doing that.
It does feel it feels good.
Yeah.
It does feel good. And it shows, I guess.
So how do you think you've grown from like your 20s doing that?
I mean, that was my therapy in my 20s. You know, like that was my spiritual, that was my practice. And then I had children and it's sort of, you know, like a lot of things just got pushed aside.
Yeah.
And so then I didn't really take after children, I don't think I took the sexual exploration route. I took the more inner spiritual. And then as I stepped more into that other sexual part started to come back.
Yeah. So what did you notice? What, you know, it occurs to me that might be connected to your reawakening yourself and the choice that I've heard you talk about that you made to actually, wow, if I'm providing this for my kids, why am I not providing it for myself?
Right, exactly.
And that awakening. So, you know, what age were your kids? How long had it been, you know, before you started to really step back in? And what did you start to experience? What do our women who maybe feel a little number and are wondering about this, what do they have to look forward to? What kind of steps did you take? All sorts of, whenever you feel like talking about.
I think I started to feel like, okay, now I'm a mom and like I'm frumpy and I don't want to be a frumpy mom. You know, like I can be a mom and I can be frumpy, but I can't be a frumpy mom. And it just was this stereotype of this, you know, type of woman that sort of doesn't shower. And I was that person. I was totally that person.
We've all been.
And I still am sometimes, you know, like but I'm not, you know, it's like I might look like that on the outside, but I'm not the same frumpy on the inside. It's like I couldn't be internally frumpy.
I love that.
Like, you know, like it was just, I was sick of it. I was living, you know, I got a coach. That's what happened. I found Christine Hassler, my coach, and I found her online and my daughter was a year old and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I felt like I sold out. That was my main like thing is like, I knew I had all these dreams. I knew I had all this, you can call it energy, sexual energy, whatever it was. It had all shut down. And I just knew, I don't know, there's something in me that knew it didn't have to be that way. And I needed someone to help draw it out.
I think that's a great point. I think all of our listeners can think about is, you know, are you trying to do this journey alone?
Right.
You know, most of us do. We try for a while. We have so many people we're giving stuff to, right? We're giving to our kids, giving to our husbands, giving to our lives, giving to the school. All sorts of things, and maybe even a bunch of friends too. And when was the last time you stopped and gave that much energy to yourself?
Right. Yeah, like if
your
child came to you, like pretend your child could speak at one, and they're like, "Wow, I just feel really off. Like I don't feel myself." You'd be like, "Oh my God, this 1-year-old's like needs a therapist." You know, so
let's get her the help.
Yeah, let's get her the help. You'd do anything.
Right.
You'd travel to whatever the means you had, you would use to help them. So think about that for yourself.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying also because if we think about it, these can often be the places where illness starts, where we let go of taking care of ourselves and then we find ourselves starting to get ill and we don't pay attention because we keep giving and keep giving. So another place for us to look, ladies, is consider that as you let go of these really important needs that are yours, that you're actually possibly letting go of your own health. If your kid came to you and was sick, you would even pause for 1 second. If you even thought they had a sniffle, well, why are you walking around with a backache? Why are you walking around when your joints hurt?
Right.
Why haven't you checked that out? So it does come back to your needs, and in particular, your sexual needs, your sensuality, giving yourself back to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us more about awakening to that as you woke up to your life journey of being a comedian and all that. Did that help?
It did. I think I stopped thinking of those things as I stopped thinking of the things that I would do to take care of myself as like, oh, I'm so, like, I guess people say self-care, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm taking a self-care day, or like, I'm getting my hair done because it's like, no, I'm doing that because that's a need of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not
selfish.
It's not a treat,
Right.
This isn't
Right.
me like, it's a need. Like, I feel better when I have my hair done. I feel better when I have a manicure. I feel better when I have these certain things, and I don't look at it as like, oh, this is a treat. I'm treating myself. Like,
and I'm a nicer mom, and
I'm a nicer
partner,
mom,
a nicer
and
friend.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and let's take it, Andrea, into that place where what happens for you when you meet your needs? What goes on inside you?
Like I feel like I'm taking care of myself. I feel safe. I think I feel safe with myself, and I feel like I don't need someone else to meet my needs. I'm meeting my own needs. I'm sort of I don't know if the word's sufficient, but like I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
I don't need someone else to do that for me.
And sometimes you might need someone else to contribute to you because that's what you need in order to get that
Right.
fulfilled. You can't do it yourself.
Right.
And what you're saying now is you realized there was a way that because you had let go of any of your self-care, you had to take it back.
Exactly.
Right.
Like no one else can do it for you, right? Like
You have to make it a priority.
Yeah, you have to make it a priority. Yeah.
So as you did that, you started to come back into contact with your woman self.
Right. And I do think having kids like put me more in my body. Like I feel sexier now than I did before kids. Can you guys relate to that? Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know
absolutely.
if there was just so much self-judgment in my 20s or comparison to other people. I don't feel like I compare myself anymore like I did back in my 20s.
Yeah. I don't know. Something about kids that made me feel, I mean, not directly after, or like
Right.
the year after, but as like I feel sexier as a mom than I did ever in my 20s or 30s before I had children.
Do you
Yeah.
think that has anything to do with the way you've built your career and your confidence level
Probably.
and your creativity?
Probably. And just feeling like I'm in my element and I'm on purpose and feeling like I'm, like here doing what I was meant to do. I think it does bring like a confidence and a sort of, I just don't care so much about what other people think, or I'm not worried about being sexy, and I think that's sexy.
Right,
Yes,
right. And
absolutely.
so how do you encourage your sensuality? What kinds of things do you do? I mean, it could be work. I work because I love my work. So,
Right.
I mean, I do notice there's some clothing things that you might possibly do.
It's so funny because I used to wear like low cut tops all the time, like in my 20s. Like that was like
The way to feel
the way
sexy
I
or
felt
look
sexy.
Yeah.
And some of my friends are like, wow, you have really good boobs and you never show them. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I used to that used to be like my thing. And so
I have a boob thing.
Yeah. And
Now what do you have a thing with?
well, now it's just like, I don't know. I don't dress to be sexy, I guess. I think I love pretty clothes, and it's like I focus on like the feel of the fabric on my body, or like I focus on, how I feel in a particular item instead
great.
of what it looks like or what
I think that's an age thing. You can almost see it like going out to the clubs or to the restaurants. It's like you look at girls who are in their young 20s and they're going out to a club, and what are they in? Every short black lycra dress, low cut belly thing. Like
right.
It's like a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you get into your 30s, it morphs, and then 40s. And I find that when I look at all of those different age groups, I think it's so much more attractive to see an older woman who's like what you're saying, in some like fucking elegant outfit with nice materials and proper lengths and accentuating body parts, but not like showing it all.
Right. I think we learn how to like dress for our body type. Like as we get, you just start to care about those things more, and the quality and what you're like my shoes, like the shoes I used to wear as like a young, adult were not comfortable. So I'm like walking like Bambi, like for the first time. And that's not sexy. It's like now I wear shoes that I can walk in. So,
I love what you're talking about, because what you're reflecting outside and inside is the effect of how you feel in your body with your clothes on, with your clothes off, with your shoes, with a bathing suit. Like, how do you feel? And then how that projects your sensuality and sexuality into the world.
Right.
Versus how you think you should feel, or how you think you should be, or what you think you should look like in your 20s if you're wearing the formula outfit.
Right.
And are you really present? Are you really there for the experience? Or are you just like a little cookie cutter standing there on your little tilted shoes?
No, I don't think there was a lot of times I wasn't there. I mean, I was there, but I wasn't there.
Well, you're there now because I just saw those bikini pics.
Yeah, we saw some pictures of
that.
That
was a big deal.
Awesome.
That was a huge deal for me. I was
can
encouraged
imagine.
by a friend to take those. So take those. I said, should I wear this? She's like, absolutely. You have a beautiful body. Like, you should take those pictures.
I mean, that shows the growth of like where you
for sure.
What's the saying?
Who does a bikini shoot with 2 kids? I mean, I have 2 kids and now I'm going to do a bikini shoot. I mean,
it's great. It's such a great example, and I hope that everybody who's listening really understands that this is all about feeling the sense of yourself as a woman.
Right.
That's how you experience that. So tell us more about how that shoot was and what it gave you, because you could look at that as, oh, she got a bunch of pictures taken, which is a reflection of your outer image. But talk to us a little bit about, where did you have to come from on the inside that you could even go to that photo shoot and take your picture?
That's a good question. I mean, I felt self-conscious at first. I did. And I think it was helpful to have like a supportive photographer, like someone that could sort of, and I had a hype girl. I had my girl there that was like, like
good.
Turn this way, do this. A lot of like
positioning,
right? Like, and just knowing that like they're just photos, right? Like I was thinking about it. Like even swimsuit models probably have pictures where they're like, oh, I hate that. I don't like.
Of course,
nobody feels 100% all the time, fond of their body, I'm sure, but I try really hard to stop myself when I'm having those thoughts, those kind of self-doubting, what is the word? Like
judging,
self-judging.
And I just noticed that every time you talk about the experience of being in the shoot or being in your body or being in your clothing, when I hear you talk about that, it's like there's a way that you're softened again to, yes, I was scared. And when I was able to get a little bit more present with myself, then I was able to experience my sensuality and actually soften into the experience. And once my kids were a certain age, I chose to go into my career and feel good and feel confident. And I started to feel my sensuality and my sexuality start to rise again.
Right.
Just wondering what those keys are for other women. So as they listen and they're like, oh, how is she doing that? It's like one step at a time, I'm imagining, right?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of I think it is about what makes you feel sexy. Like what makes you feel confident? Is it lingerie? Is it wearing some, sexy piece underneath a sweater that nobody knows you're wearing? But
so what is it for you?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Help us out here.
Give us a treat, Andrea. Come on.
Butt plugs.
There you go. There we go.
Just kidding.
All day long.
There's always a hint of truth.
No, I'm just kidding. Not that one.
That girl. Now you're going to have to give us a real one, though.
I don't know. I'm trying to think about it.
Shoes?
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's having my hair done, I think.
I'm just kidding.
It's my hair. It's my hair. Because, I went from a blonde to a redhead. And as soon as I did that, something just, like, ignited. Like, it's my hair. For me, it's my hair.
Absolutely gorgeous on you, and it completely fits you, and I would never know. I can't imagine you as a blonde.
Was there a process in taking that step?
I had always wanted to be a redhead.
Really?
Yeah, and then my colorist was like, "You should do red. You really should try red."
So
and I was
perfect.
Like, okay, why not? Why not? And I love it. And when I get my hair like professionally done, blown out, like I always feel amazing. I always feel whatever, you know, it's just like, for me, it's my hair.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
It's so great that you know that. And it's not a thing you have to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
And it's something you get to celebrate. And it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It just matches you so perfectly. No wonder your colorist wanted you to do it. It's almost like, you know, when you feel like you're in the wrong body, it was like you feel like you had the wrong hair.
Totally.
Right?
Thankfully, I felt okay about that. That would have been a harder transition.
It would have been a harder transition, but one that a lot of people are facing.
For sure.
You know, and in some small way, and not to mitigate how big that choice is. And transforming your sexuality from what you don't feel is right to what you do feel is right. That's huge.
I mean, that's a whole other take on it.
This is a tiny little piece of it. But how many times do we not honor what actually is really true about who we are? It's like, I'm a redhead.
Right.
I don't know why I am.
And whatever those choices that we want to make for ourselves, or those new directions we want to take, it's how are we going to be with ourselves as we go through big choices.
And something that's so true for you, right? And you can't even explain it. It has no basis. You cannot say to someone, I know I'm a redhead and I know that because. It's just like, no, I really get it. This is exactly who I am. And I feel so completely coherent and alive. And
next year when she comes back with black hair, she'll be like, this year I just knew.
Well, it can be that way.
I so over-identified with being a blonde, too. Like, I love being a blonde. Yeah. Like, I was the one that would, like, not even let, like, a tiny bit of root show. Like, I was, like, in the salon So, like, it's interesting that now I can't, I don't know.
It's an interesting metaphor, letting your roots show.
Yeah.
The more you step into who you are and you're confident, and you can let some roots show.
I don't know if I'm there yet.
You know what's so interesting about this, too, in this conversation is the more we care for ourselves in authentic ways that matter to us, whether we can explain them or not. Who knows if it's a past life thing when you were a redhead and it's coming back through or whatever.
Maybe I was the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Do you want to sing some songs?
You want to sing? Because you did already. It was beautiful. This is called sexual healing.
Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm a girl who has everything?
I do think you have everything because I've seen the closet. No, just kidding. Can we talk about your house? Her house is, holy shit, a reflection of you. I mean...
Yeah, it was
bold taste.
It was. The house was maybe one of the first steps the house was before I even dyed my hair. Yeah,
because think of this.
Now, did you have kids already when you did the house, or no?
Yep, already had kids.
The thing about like a physical structure that's not your body is an easier place to start with change or making bold choices, and then we make it on the outside, in our outside world, and then slowly start bringing it inward.
That's so true.
That's so great. And it's such a journey to honor ourselves. To actually say, this is what's true for me, take it or leave it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sexy.
It's sexy as heck.
I mean, can you imagine if a guy was just like, this is me, take it or leave it, baby. I'd be like, I take it. Assuming I liked it.
Assuming you liked what it was he had to offer.
I think that's what's the sexiest thing about a man is confidence. Like someone with, my friends and I joke, we call it BDE. Do you guys know what BDE is?
Sure don't.
Big dick energy. It's like you don't.
Why don't we know what BDE is?
You guys have to know what BDE is. So it's not even a big dick. It's like big dick energy, and women can have it too. Mm-hmm. And I mainly surround myself with.
I
women
want BV energy.
Yeah, or B like.
I'd rather have the
BVE. Yeah, BTE. But yeah, so that energy. I like that.
Yeah,
and men do think too. It's cocky, but like, and I think there's a line right between something.
Yes, being an asshole and being just completely not machismo, but what's the word for their
BDE?
Yeah, there's no word, just an acronym.
You know, it's so funny when you think about it. It's actually someone really being themselves. So a man who has that energy is a man who that energy is true for.
Yeah,
you know, there may be men who have a little more. Feminine energy blended in. Like you said, you've realized you actually really like this type of man that has an energy. You don't need them to be doing, I don't know, other things.
Plugs. I'm just kidding.
Whatever it is.
I can't believe I said butt plugs. I actually swear I've never used one. I'm not against it.
But now that you've said it, I will have to say it 5 times in the episode.
Yeah. It has to go. So for you, this person is ideal. the way you respond to someone who your friends and you call BDE is ideal.
For me, yeah.
Because what do you think? Okay, so that's how he appears on the outside. So then what do you assume about his insides?
So I make the assumption that he gives himself, he knows what he wants, and then he goes for it, and he gives it to himself.
Gives himself
which is
permission.
Sexy. Yeah, gives himself permission to be a certain way, or I don't know, there's something.
Do you think it feels safe?
It feels safe. I think it does feel safe.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
It's like he knows how to take care of things.
He knows how to take care of himself, so he can then extend that, not take care of me, but sort of be there, maybe hold the space.
Or be able to match you as you're the BTE.
Right. BTE.
I'm going with BV. You guys
you go have the big badge. I'll take my tiny one.
I don't want the BV. No, I guess I don't really want a BV.
Yeah, I don't know if we want BVE.
No, but we want that energy.
We want BDE. I'm sticking with it. I want big dick energy.
I don't want so much masculine energy. I think that's one thing that I notice that gets in women's way.
Yeah.
Especially what I like about what's happening in your situation that's fascinating, just kind of noticed it, was that while you're putting yourself forward in the world and while you're becoming more of the person that you are, you're actually becoming more of the woman that you are. Mm-hmm. And where I think some women get lost, and I know this happened to me in my first career when I lived in New York and I worked all the time, was actually ended up with more BDE. I was more masculine than I had ever been in my life, and I didn't want it. And I had to actually work back. So that's why I keep saying BV, and I don't mean big vagina. I mean big energy from my vagina.
I watched so many friends date. I never had an issue dating. And I watched so many friends go through all these problems, and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, well, he called, and, he wanted to go here, and then he picked me up, and there was so much traffic, so I told him which way to take, and I told him to go this way, and then I wanted to go here.
Immediately emasculated him.
Yeah, and she just chopped off his balls right there in the car. There's something about that, and I've always enjoyed it naturally, so.
I love a man who
like
can
a guy that will take charge.
God,
we're going here. This is where we're going.
Just sit down and enjoy the ride. I'm taking us there.
I've made, I made the reservations, even if it's not my favorite place. They took the time to do it, and that's so sweet. And so I think prize the hell out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Prizing, make them feel good for their choices.
Exactly.
And us, we need prizing too, and just sitting there in the car, can you just relax and enjoy the journey? That is so much about receptivity.
Yeah,
this person has planned the night, done all that for you. And I do think, and let's be curious what you think about this. When we have kids, we actually end up with a little more masculine energy, even when we're moms, because we have so much to take care of.
For sure.
Which then I think it's in the way of the sensuality and the sexuality, and that's how we lose ourselves, because we have to put those pants on for a while.
For sure.
It's like we have to provide a lot in a day that isn't receptive. And it's weird because the role is mother. So it's a funny thing. So as you grew through that and you started claiming your career, you didn't go the route of putting on a masculine job. You didn't strap one on, so to speak. Strap on your BDE.
Right.
You stayed with the more feminine energy. You stayed in your career. You were able to do that. And you were very successful. So now what are you feeling is awakening in you at this? Kids are a little bit older and what's happening?
I feel like I'm stepping even further into that sensual, kind of getting back to that kind of more spontaneous, sex was so planned, it can be so but it's just getting to be there's just more time as your kids get older. And I think, they're in school, whatever. It's just, there's more time for myself.
Afternoon delight. Some of the best times. Yeah. And even just knowing that they're going to sleep through the night. So you're not going to have to get up in half an hour.
What I like and what I don't like and what I like.
Because it changes as we get older.
Yeah, it totally changes.
What do you find has changed with you?
I think just the spontaneity thing, even just being I don't know. I think because I have more time, I find myself thinking about sex more. And I don't really ever remember doing that, you know, when you're like changing diapers or like
never remember thinking about sex. It's probably good
like about
not
right
to be
now.
thinking
where
about
I was like, I'm good if I never have sex again.
Oh yeah,
like
sure.
legit. I think I thought that.
Yeah,
I know
definitely
I thought
went
that.
through a significant amount of time where I was like, nope.
Probably all our exes could probably tell us about that.
And now I look back on that woman, I'm like, can't even believe she existed or behaved that way or was so like shut off. And I did. I thought that was going to be the rest of my life, and it was scary.
Yeah.
And what's really funny for me, just as we're talking about this, is that at this point in my life where I'm almost 60 is, wow, this is the most sexual time of my life.
That's amazing.
It's so much fun.
I love it. It gives me so much to look forward to.
I know.
Because I was definitely brought up with, once you're 40, done.
Oh, yeah.
Done,
I mean, think about
done.
I love this part of USM where we did the like the age stage.
Generative.
And the generative, and you think about all these ideas you get of aging from like the people that you've watched age in your family.
Right. And the things they've said and implanted.
And the things they've said and the activities that it's just like you have a choice. And I don't think I realized that. I thought this is what happens as you get older.
I've even just like the whole menopause. When you hit menopause, that's it. Like shop closed, and it's like that was so depressing to think about.
Depressing.
You know how freeing it is? It's so freeing.
Sexy.
You cannot get
Both of you
pregnant anymore.
Yeah.
It is like the most incredible thing. I remember when I really knew that my period was over, really for sure.
Yeah.
And I was in my mid-50s, so I was lucky. I had a really nice long time where I was really fertile, which kept me really alive and more youthful. And the first time I slept with a man after I really knew that happened, I woke up in the morning, and for the first time in my life, I could feel this – oh, I cannot get pregnant. Like that thought of like, I cannot.
And you're like, and if I do, then it's a miracle and I need to bring it to the world.
Right.
It's the Christ child.
It's just an amazing experience. And I've heard men really talk about this
freedom.
thing, the freedom of your girlfriend cannot get pregnant.
Yeah.
And the men who date younger women miss that experience.
Interesting.
And they end up with sort of an interesting conversation. I've heard one time this happening with older men who have wives or women in their lives who are closer to their age versus younger, and how much they get to like totally tease the guy who's dating a younger woman because he's still dealing with all of that.
It'd be so stressful to be like close
so
to 60
stressful
and like think you could get someone pregnant.
And it happens.
Right?
And it happens. And then you're like,
Picasso
and
had
now I
kids,
have
like,
a baby
in
at
his 80s,
60.
Right? Picasso?
Oh, jeez. I don't remember that about his story.
Yeah. He fathered kids at like 85 or something.
Well, and at that point, it's not a big deal because you're like,
whatever. I'm not going to be around. Problem. I'm not paying for college with this one.
I won't live long enough to see them turn into an asshole.
I'm going to be the asshole first. I'm going to be a crotchety old man. Oh my gosh. So anyway, it's fun to know. It's great because you ladies are younger, and just to see you sort of reawakening from childbearing years and that kind of thing. And like, wow, okay, we keep growing in our sexuality. And we started this with the song Sexual Healing. And that's what I would say is really the key is the more and more sexual experiences you have, the more and more healing you have, the better and better you choose your partners, or the better work you do with your one partner, you are more capable of having better and better sex.
Yeah.
Because it's safer, more connected, deeper. You go to places you would never have dreamed of going when you were younger.
I love that because I think in my 20s, before I had children, like, it's like I needed healing from those sexual experiences.
But a different type of healing.
A different type. But now it's like, I don't know, sex just wasn't, I wasn't awakened enough to even know what, I don't know.
But were we even present in our 20s? Like,
I don't even know. I mean, half the time I was like drunk or
and now
right? It's like, I feel like I hate drunk sex. Like, it's not something I'm interested in anymore.
The whole sexual healing, though, like just when you brought it back, I was thinking like, I don't think people talk about it a lot, but after you've done, okay, just say the typical, you're married with children and you go through that numb period. No one really talks about the sexual healing time that needs to happen in order to come back together as a partner. I feel like that's where the divorces happen.
Yeah.
And there's not enough attention on there's something broken and it's okay and it needs to be healed. And everyone kind of goes through it and no one really talks about how to move through it.
Right.
Yeah.
They go, go to therapy. And it's like, I think it's different.
It's coaching more than therapy. I think it's really like you first recognizing that you have a break in your connection. That's breaking your sexual connection is actually a problem.
Because we don't see it as a break in connection. We see it as it's done, it's over. I'm never gonna.
I'm not
want
attracted
sex.
to this person.
Exactly. This can't possibly be right.
Changed. I've changed. He's changed. Everything's changed. Now what?
Right.
And some couples manage to keep having sex, but I feel like it's almost that it can become sort of what's the word?
Perfunctory.
Like sort
absolutely.
Of like, we have sex on Wednesday nights, and that never really. People are like, we'll just schedule it. It's like, well, that's not sexy.
It's not, but at least it's sex for somebody. I think it's fascinating, this conversation that we've...
Yeah, I don't know the answer, but I
don't either.
Like
but people should know. Well, people should know that sex should get better.
Yeah.
So if sex should get better, but you don't want to have it, it's time to look within.
I think if you don't... know that if there's a point where you don't want to have sex, like, you're not broken, right? Like, there's nothing... There's nothing wrong with you. I think it's natural.
I didn't think I guess I didn't think I was broken. I just thought that was
naturally
it. That's normal. That after having kids, that part dies and you like move on to something else.
Yeah, you move on to like
tennis,
PTA. No more.
But then you meet the tennis pro and he's really hot, and then all of a sudden you awaken your sexuality again. Right?
It's true. Like, it can happen. I see it.
Yeah. It's like a dormancy. What if we just thought of it as a dormancy? Like those years when you're really heavily parenting and with really young children, it's almost a survival thing to go dormant, right? Yeah. And then knowing that we want to wake that back up. And I hope for our listeners who are listening to this, because we're sort of discovering this conversation as we go today, which is super fun.
Because we look at our partners as a thing that's wrong with our sexuality. And then we meet new people that all of a sudden spark some inspiration in us. And we go, oh, no, there is something still alive in there. And we attach
Krista
it
keeps pointing at her crotch, which is really hilarious. She's the one that wanted to be the big tit girl, but now she's pointing at her crotch. So I'm with Betty White.
But it's like we attach that reawakening to maybe
this
person. I don't care if it's the checkout guy at the grocery store. If we get that little feeling inside, it's like, oh, it's about that person. And it's like, no, it's not about that person. It's just like there's something still in there that is, ready to move.
Let me out.
Let me out.
Knock, knock. I want to play.
I love how my vagina sounds like someone stuck in a dungeon.
Catherine's is a cat.
Catherine's a cat.
An Italian cat. Please, let's be very careful with that cat.
I don't know what the hell mine is.
We know it's tight. I think we established that earlier.
Yes, it is. Very happily so.
Oh,
not everyone can say that after 3 kids.
It's true.
No.
And it's all perfect because we really have such a lot of exploring to do about our own bodies and our own sexuality. And I really appreciate you being so authentic and open with us and sharing your journey and, what things started to awaken in you. And
yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun topic.
So where are you now? Inside. Where are you now?
Well, I am here in a slip dress in a basement in LA.
in a big, beautiful house. That's right, in the dungeon.
That's awesome. Well, I think what I was just about to say is, as our insides, we re-tap into ourselves and get in touch with our creativity and our inner artist and our inner goddess, and we allow those sides to start reawakening and coming back. I feel like for myself, that's where I gained my power back a little bit. That's where I got my courage back, my bravery, and I allowed my body to come back, and I allowed myself to start using my body again.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful thing.
So I feel like because I've known you for several years, and I've got to watch you as you have stepped into yourself more strongly and know who you are more, and you're stepping out in the world and becoming like the true essence of yourself and sharing it with the world.
Right.
I feel like I've just watched you blossom in such a huge way.
Yeah, I really want to appreciate you because there's a sharing that you've done that is so generous. That you took the chance and you had the willingness to share yourself so fully that you have a huge impact you're making on the world. And it's a way of being of service that maybe some people wouldn't notice was actually what you're doing, but it is a way of inviting empowerment for women. And I hope all of you who are listening and know and already love Andrea and our listeners who are getting to know her really see how brave and generous it is because you are really giving of yourself in the deepest way and taking big risks and being such a model for women to really go for it and go for it with your feminine in front, not with some big balls kind of energy.
Truck nuts.
Not truck nuts hanging from the back of your car. You got a nice little, you got a rose or you got some lips. We definitely all need it.
Yeah.
Because we have parts of us.
A little of that, right?
Absolutely.
I just remember like a couple times growing up where people like would say things about like you're dressed too sexy or you're being too sexy. And I would be like, well, I don't know. I'm like, what does that mean? You know, like it wasn't something.
Where's the line I should draw?
Yeah. So it's just like, it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, I'm
gonna get myself a job where I can be my full on sexy self.
Like, I don't know. Maybe it's not, for the workplace to be walking around like in
your workplace,
what I'm wearing.
Your workplace,
create your own workplace.
So Holy Fuck is a workplace where we get to walk around and talk about it.
Like, and just never say that to a young girl because what the hell,
what do you think about the thought that some of us are actually born with more sexual, so more estrogen or whatever it is that draws us into a place where we're more sexual? And I think all three of us, the reason we're here today is because this is energy that really moves us.
Right.
I do think every woman has this energy, but I do think some of us more than others have this in us. And we have been told from a very early age, we're beautiful, we're sexy, we're this, we're that. And it does draw all sorts of experience in for us, some good, some bad. And maybe it's just the fact of people reflecting to you, you're very sexy, and they call it too sexy because they don't know what to do with it.
Exactly.
It's scary for them.
I know what to do with you, girl.
Do not go to the butt plug again.
That's why. That's why
God.
I need a strong guy.
I'm going to need a strap on now. And maybe on that note.
On that note, I think
that's a whole nother episode, I feel.
So tell our listeners again where they can find you.
So my Instagram is at Andrea Levoff, and my website is dopeassmom.com.
Awesome.
And we can verify she's a total dope-ass mom.
Yes, and we're so glad
thank
you are
you so much.
Fun. Thank you, guys.
We love you.
We love you.
We love
Bless
our
you.
listeners.
Share the love,
Share the love, everyone.
Share the love.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.